I can open it. I just booped, so I can open it if you want.
Boop away.
Boop. No, not poop. Boop. Hey, Jeepers, this is Scott here from On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. We're off to a great start today. Yay! We're number 2. So,
If you dig that trench any deeper, it's going to be hard to fill in, Scott.
make it a new septic tank. Moving on. I am Scott. I'm the slapstick parts guy, the person who doesn't use torque wrenches, but sometimes I do with the supervision of an adult, and that adult would be Kevin. But right now, I just wanted to say hi. And Kevin, how are you?
I'm trying to catch my breath from laughing. We had a very lowbrow humor running before the show started. And unfortunately, it did kind of contaminate the lead into the show. Apologies for that.
It tanked.
But, oh, God. Anyway, I'm Kevin, the engineer. I generally read the instructions, use the right tools, and follow those instructions. And if I choose not to, I know what I'm the responsible party when things don't go right, which has happened a time or two. Ask me about a diesel fuel bath one of these days. But anyhow,
It's like the fountains from those TV shows, you know. You see, like
what's fun?
the hills are alive with the sound of
do.
fireballs. Moving on. Well, we always will share what works for us as well as what didn't. Remember, it's always up to you to do your research, read the instructions, and please follow them.
Please, manufacturers do a lot of effort to try and keep you out of trouble.
Or from being on fire. So with that, I'm sorry. That was hot.
Fine.
So with that, we hope you all are enjoying this fine season here. If you haven't seen the news yet, Florida is pollened in pretty hard.
Yes, pollened in, drying out again after a brief round of thunder and rain to make the oak trees just giddy with desire to all over the place.
We spring so hard, we went back to fall.
Yeah. Every car is now yellow, regardless of what it came out of the factory with.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody is kind of going, I can't breathe.
Meanwhile, Zyrtec sales in the southeast are...
On the other hand, a lot of our listeners up north of here are still fighting snow and ice and other things like that. So we can't complain too much just because we can't breathe.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, no, it's and those little those pine needle things get like not pine needles, the little brown little
yes, the little pollen
containers, we'll call them.
Stomata or whatever they're called.
Gesundheit.
I don't know. They come down, they fall, and they go poof when they land on your windshield, and then you wipe them with the wiper, and they leave big dusty yellow streaks.
Yeah,
All the fun of living down here.
Yeah, well, with that and rubbing our eyes with nothing but saline solution. But, enough on the weather talk, because this is a Jeep podcast. As we're sitting
This is
here,
true. My Jeep is colored yellow now, too.
Yes, so is the Gladiator. So is the LJ. So is everything else. But, no, it was actually kind of interesting because, with this season, we're getting into the show season down here in Florida, like with the Jeep Beach. Yeah, that's going to be kind of fun. I have registered. Kevin's registered. We're looking forward to that. That's going to be really cool. Hopefully, some Operation Skunk Work stuff happens.
Cool.
Yeah, so me.
Roiling hot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like August, with face melting, asphalt, and oh my goodness. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun event this year. It's man, this is.
Yeah, you've got a new little sidebar at that event, haven't you?
I'm hoping.
Actually, technically, you don't.
Yes.
Technically, somebody else does.
Yes. Well, on that note, I'll go ahead and update everybody's because, might as well jump right in because it's a decent segue. Did the oil change on the GPW because we added the extra additives to see if we can get the oil pressure to go up. I'm happy to report the oil pressure has come up, and so did all the metally bits come out of the engine. So, yeah, we did. I don't think having the 51 DeSoto oil filter. It had the wrong oil filter this whole time. I don't think that did it any favors.
You wonder if it blocked the flow.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we went from 10 PSI to 30-ish PSI, so that helped. Yeah. But again, I think the damage is too much done because we still have a little bit of knock.
A little bit of tickety-tickety-tick.
Yeah, but again, the valve train seemed to be spared, which is good, but a set of rod bearings is $14 and a new oil pump's $200. So, less
And
than.
it can be done in frame if you choose to.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what we're probably going to end up doing. But right now, we're just going to hopefully press forward for the next couple of weeks and see what happens. But other than that, things are good on our end. The
Although
LJ.
you and Autumn could probably pick up that four popper block and pull it out.
Oh, yeah.
If you take the head off, it's going to be
100
half
pounds
the weight
less.
it was before.
And all the rotating Wizzly bits. But no, the LJ is running really good. Haven't really driven the Gladiator a whole lot. But, again, as always, I'm just digging the LJ. I am absolutely in love with that thing. How it sounds, how it roars. It's fun. It's a fun day.
Yeah, it's a fun day. Speaking of fun, or maybe in this case, lack thereof, our good friend Ron at Red Scorpion was experimenting on a dyno with, a company here, because he's always had a little bit of a grumpy because Roxy, the name of his Jeep, has a what was it, a
4.7 stroker.
Yeah, 4.7 stroker.
Yeah.
Thanks. 4.7 stroker on it, and he's always been hot to trot, and it was a very responsive motor. But he went and he had it dynoed. Was very. I'm not going to spoil his surprises, but he was a little bit disappointed in the power output on the dyno itself. And then on the way back from the dyno, she started, like the song said, rocking and knocking down in the bottom.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. He has blown the motor. And he admits, or he at least tells you, that he wasn't doing anything crazy. But then again, a dyno pass is not that easy on a motor,
Yeah.
So he's having to order a new block, and he's going to order a stroke block already again. And he's going to put an Edelbrock head on it. And he's actually asked me to take slightly altered over to the dyno next time and see what slightly altered produces, since on occasion I've actually outrun him with a stock bottom end and just the Edelbrock and the top end. So we may find out more about slightly altered. Now, I'm not intending on pulling the motor out and changing anything like he is, but we'll see what happens.
I get a question.
Yeah.
Can you still get an Edelbrock head?
Yeah, you can find them. There's still some NOS that's out there. They're a little pricey, but they are out there. And I don't know. There was some rumor that they might be doing another batch run, because it's one of those things that they don't. It's not a continuous demand, but there was some email traffic or some posting traffic that they were considering that there was enough demand to go ahead and do another run, maybe of 1,000 or 10,000 heads, or I don't know. I'm guessing there. Please don't take that as. Yeah. And I can't argue with them, because there's a whole lot of 4-liters still running around out there.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking with myself. Very similar. It's funny, Ron, with the stroker motor and all that. Again, the whole LS swap and all that. But again, I'm very much the kind of guy who likes to be able to go to the parts store and get a power steering hose, relatively easy. That's my own personal thing. And, Edelbrock head with a stroker. I'm going to watch this very closely, because I might be interested.
So are a lot of people. I was at the shop today talking to him, and there are lots and lots of people that are interested in that. And even his significant other was not upset that the motor went out. She says, it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I go, yeah, it has. And he's managed to run this motor, shall we say, aggressively?
In his defense, I have never heard him bang it off the rev limiter.
You weren't listening then, bud.
I'm trying to give the guy a little bit of help here.
No. Well, on the street, no. Yeah. But on some of the trails that I followed him on, he when he was slinging mud, particularly one of those early years, I do remember hearing ring, ding, 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 bow, 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 bow. And then something about framing it to the mud.
Right.
And one of our other compadres going out with the rope.
Yeah. What? That doesn't sound like Ron at all.
That's what there's a whole heap of Jeepers out there that are about thrashing. I admit, I'm the weird one. I'm the guy who likes to tread lightly and sneak through and hopefully leave nothing but my tire prints occasionally, not ruts.
Engine bits.
Huh?
Engine bits.
Yeah, not leave engine bits and puddles of 2030 out there.
Dino squeezins everywhere.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like you, slightly altered. has seen some relatively low usage. I'm sad, very sad to say that one of our small private trails that you have been on with me
Oh, really?
has been closed and
Oh,
gated
man.
because people went out there and abused it and left. I don't mind going out if they went out and set a fire, a bonfire, and then put it out, but they leave all their trash. They left spare tires. And the county just said, well,
We're done.
so there's another case of where somebody who went out for a little Saturday night free for all um, ruined it for everybody else. And it was a county and it technically public land, but the county does have the right to close off the county lands if it is being abused. So that's another sad one there that we did. And it wasn't a huge plate, but it was a great little place to take your rig out after you'd done work on it. And you could flex it pretty hard and tilt it pretty hard, and you can do all that in probably less than a mile loop. And tis no more. Although
That
some idiot
sucks.
went out and bypassed the gate. He just turned right before the gate they put in and went straight through the woods and back over into the trails. And I'm sure the county will be out being a little more vicious, and there may be trail cams out there soon.
I was literally getting ready to say that.
Somebody will then be screaming bloody murder.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens all over this country, is that the few that think they don't have to listen to the rules will ruin it for the rest of us who do.
Yeah, no, we actually had a situation with a local club, very recently, where people had their, hey, I'm with this group, and out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing, and there were pictures and photographs taken, and unfortunately, it basically shines a light on the entire group and the entire Jeep community. And that's
It does, the specific one, but the truth is it's off-roaders in general, not just those that drive a Jeep. Although, because the Jeep name has become so synonymous with off-road, which pisses off the Toyota guys quite a bit. As I'm sitting here looking at Scott's shirt.
Man, I got in trouble at work.
Uh-oh. But anyway, the thing is it's all of us. I have no idea who went down here and destroyed that trail.
Yeah.
And I watch it every day, and believe me, there's actually a small number of Wranglers out here versus 4x4 pickups, lifted trucks. And I swear, every freaking driveway has one in it. So,
yeah.
And mine's not lifted, but it's also an obnoxious truck as well. So, but at least I don't go out and trash the countryside with it.
No, absolutely.
So, anywho,
I do have to make
go ahead.
I do have to make quick comments about the Toyota people, because there is a
Say it carefully.
Between 3 and 5 running SUV with the flapping penguin that's spent, I want to say, $7,000 on a certain brand of off-road shocks and suspension, and spent a lot of money getting 35s under this vehicle. And of course, he's got the roof tent, the snorkel, all the lights, and he does take it off-road. I will give him credit. But man, is he pissed off at me when I go past him, when the light turns green, and I give it the beans, and that Banks fires up, and that 4-liter goes, nanny, you didn't re-gear. And there, you might have that Toyota, and you might think you're king, but when you're 7.5 car lengths back with me trying to give that 4.0 everything it has on that V6 of your Toyota, buddy, let me tell you something, man. It's great you spend all that money on that really cool suspension that you use, but gearing is important too.
Yeah, well, we've talked about that a few shows back. It might be coming after 7 years' time to review a couple of those basic shows, because it does seem that the latest listeners aren't quite as familiar with the general basic rules of off-road building.
Well, it's just kind of funny because, again, because the way the traffic patterns were, this person leaves a different dealership every day, and then I don't think they know I drive both the Gladiator and the LJ.
Oh, okay.
So all they see is this Jeeps just constantly neener, because again, I pull into the middle lane because the 18-wheeler's in the right lane, and he all of a sudden comes zooming up on the left lane next to me and hard braking because he thought the light was going to turn green. I'm like, traffic pattern ain't going to work that way, cowboy. Light turns green, first, second, third, fourth for me, and he's way back at the light, and I see the back just dip down. He's trying.
Well, Toyota's a good rig. I've had several of them, and but yes, they produce their power in the upper RPMs.
Yes.
The 4-liter in a Jeep produces its power down right off idle.
And I do have to say this real quickly as a PSA. We had a relatively brand new Toyota Land Crusher traded in, and it was actually no expense was spared on this Icon suspension.
Oh yeah, one of those.
The ARB front bumper, the winch or the Warren competition series winch, the snorkel kit, all the off-road gears, the Method racing wheels, the tires. You can see a Jeep a vehicle where money has been spent.
Gotcha.
Traded it in because it was dangerously wobbly on the road. The bolt fell out of the control arm on the axle side. The bolt was like half in, half off the nut.
About.
And traded all that money, all that work because they felt it was
didn't follow up.
So someone didn't. Somebody. All of a sudden, I can't talk now. I was just like, and of course, I made the comment to the salesman. Yeah, we don't know what's wrong with it, man. It's so one. I'll buy it. I got 30. This is the one Jeep I'll do this is the one vehicle I'll do an even trade for the Gladiator. Because that thing was beautiful.
Probably 6 figures worth of upgrades.
Yeah, it was the vehicle itself. It had no miles. It had like 20,000 miles on Moab stickers all over it. There were some marks on the undercarriage where they've gone off roading and it wasn't clay and it wasn't dirt. They took this thing to Moab.
Okay, and to me, I'm sorry, that screams, I paid to have all this done.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
because
absolutely.
If you did it yourself, you would be under there after doing Moab and going, okay, before I even come home, let me lay down in the, hotel parking lot and just roll around under there. And is everything tight? Is everything still there? Number one, are the bolts still tight? I
do not want all this money to end up on its roof on the way home.
Yeah, that would be uncool. That would be seriously uncool.
Whether you Bronco, Toyota, Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Nissan, Jeep, no one wants to see someone's rig end up on the roof. That's again. I'm from the be cool, bro. I'll wheel with anybody, and I'll do the jabs in here, But again, still, I don't want to see anyone get hurt and no one's rig get destroyed.
Absolutely. No argument there whatsoever.
Now, I will bring my phone out if someone's doing something stupid. I will bring my phone out.
You're not
going
to pass up on a YouTube shot.
Absolutely.
But bringing up doing something stupid. I've got a new tips from the shop segment. Okay, and this one's hosted by our friend Ron. That's why I was talking about him. Of Red Scorpion Fab Works, both here and in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And it's a great small business shop with quite a few craftspeople that do wonderful things with Jeeps as far as mods. And no, it's not a sponsor. But I was chatting with Ron today, and he came over. He says, "Have you heard of this?" And I'm looking at him going, "No, this is new." He says, "Yeah." He says, "I've been seeing a rash of these over the last 6 or 7 months." Now, I go to Ron's, at least once a month, if not twice, just to check to see what's happening in the fab world. And this is one of those folks that's going to get you killed. So we're going to share this one. When you are working on the brakes of your vehicle, we've talked before that the pads have to go a certain way. There's what they call the hook end and the open end, and one of them points up and one always points down, and most people get them backwards, which means that if the bolts loosen, the pad will flip up like a flag on a mailbox and jam into your rim and cause massive, discomfort.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is a new one on me. And if you've been out there and you've heard about it, let us know. Send me an email. I'd be interested to hear about this. But, when you put a new caliper on and you've replaced a caliper because it's sticking, it's worn, you just want it to be shiny again. I don't care, You usually get some hardware with the kit. And you can tell I'm struggling a little trying to tell the story, but you have hardware with the kit. And there's 2 really pretty copper-colored washers
Mm-hmm.
that come with these kits.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, those are not washers to put on the mounting bolts that hold the caliper to the caliper frame. Those are crush washers for the banjo bolt that's the brake line. And one goes on one side of the banjo fitting, the other goes on the other. A bolt goes through the middle that's specially drilled and ported to allow fluid flow. And it's a sealing washer. It's soft copper. It's annealed. You can dent it jokingly. You don't try it, but it's been said you can dent them with your teeth. That's not exactly going to do a great job of holding your caliper on the wheel.
Especially in a panic stop.
In a panic stop, because the pressure will cause the copper to deform and ooze out. They are hardened washers, or in most cases, I have seen the bolts have a flanged head, which means it's got a built-in washer machined as part of the head. Some are 6-point, some are 12-point. It doesn't matter. And they're usually grade 8 to give you a clue, or 10.9 if they're in the metrics at least. And those are designed to take the heat, vibration, and forces of the caliper trying to hold back the 3,000 pounds of TJ to, 8,000 pounds of a Gladiator and trailer or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you stick a piece of soft copper in there. Now, I'm sure it looks pretty.
Yeah.
But please don't do it. It goes on the brake lines. I can only imagine they're probably how much sealant they pumped on the banjo bolts to get it to seal if they use the copper washers. If you've heard of this, let me know. This is the first. I went in there and Ron says, "No, come here, look." And Tommy was there as well. And Tommy's like, "Yeah, this is the third one this week." I said, "Is it another shop or is it people doing it?" He goes, "I don't know."
The friend that can do it cheaper.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So please, 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 please. You remember that statement at the beginning of every show? Read the instructions and please follow them.
Mm-hmm.
This would be one of those.
Yes.
Okay. I shake the head going, oh, no. Yeah. And if you're doing that, please don't take anybody with you. Particularly not your kids, your family.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Because I've lived it, but with the clutch, there is no worse feeling than going to depress a pedal and it goes right to the floor with no resistance. Again, luckily my situation was a clutch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always a challenge. We actually found, was it Ron's? A gentleman came in with an really annoying rattle and squeak. And I was like, squeak? So we thought maybe the rear leaf springs were squeaking. So Ron's there. The rest of the crew had run out for lunch. And Ron was jacking up the back of it to look around. And as he's jacking it up, you hear this squeak, 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 squeak. And I'm like, And I kind of reached over to the spare tire and kind of rattled it. And you're squeak, 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 whatever, rattle, squeak, squeak. And I looked down and I reached over and grabbed the back passenger's body mount and held it and shook it. And it was dead silent. You let it go and it rattled and squeaked. The entire top of the bolt plate had broke free from the cross beam in the back on that one corner.
Whoops.
And, well, it had a body lift on it, which didn't help things. But I was like, well, maybe we can tighten that up. I said, there's nothing to tighten to. You're going to have to weld the plate back into the box tube at the back.
Yeah.
So Ron slipped under there and he goes, yep, you're right. And he grounded off for the guy right there. That's kind of a great guy that Ron is. Somebody's in between work with now what could be considered a life safety kind of body mount broke. Although I've seen many a TJ rolling around, many a YJ rolling around with 3 or 4 body mounts rusted off or the bolts missing. And they seem to stay together pretty well. But still, I don't want to have an accident with that.
Yeah.
And Ron sat there and fired up the welder and told the guy's like, well, just go home. You go home safe. The guy gave him some money anyway, but Ron's like, I'm sitting here on break, maybe, a foot of welding wire. But so Ron took care of him, and I just said, cool. I said, and he's going to probably come back when it starts breaking and squeaking again. He said, yeah, and then we'll put an entire replacement beam across the back of it. Yeah. But don't take squeaks and go, that's normal.
Yeah, no, it's
at least make sure what they are before you decide you're going to live with them.
Mm-hmm. No, I had on the JK with the tire carrier we had. It had the nylon inside the metal ball that would hold the two pieces together. When you open the tailgate, the carrier would follow it. Ow! And those all the time would. And again, me being, I just a little white lithium grease once in a while in there, and that just kind of helped it. I could have been doing more damage than good, to be honest with you, with white lithium grease. But I'm like, eh. But it's either that. Sometimes I'll just use machinist oil, like sewing machine oil, 3-in-1 oil.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll use that too. But the spray white lithium was just fine. But again, that was my squeak, and that's where I just grabbed the tire and went. I'm like, oh, okay, that's my noise. And again, just.
We act like Wranglers are the eternal vehicle, but if you really look at how they're built, they were a pretty inexpensive design.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
They were not designed for corrosion resistance or anything. They're based off a war vehicle that was considered a disposable weapon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's yeah. Moving on from that subject.
Moving on from there, yes. It has come a ways as far as that goes. But in general, nothing really new on Slightly Altered, other than I'm going to chase down a little more current draw. I think it's the radio, the really expensive radio, the Amazon $89 one that may not be turning off when it's off.
Yeah.
But
I'm running the $79 Alpine from Best Buy.
yeah, exactly. And so I did find a. And I'll try and get the information, folks, on another show, or maybe I'll post it on our Facebook page. But I did find a radio head unit that will fit into the Chrysler oval openings, which the TJs have, as well as a bunch of other Jeeps, without cutting, without modifying. And it has a small digital graphic display that can host maps, all kinds of different soft touches and that kind of things. And it's not cheap, but it's not, $6,000. It's a couple of $100. And I may be trying that because I do need a new radio. One of the things about Jeeps, take the tops off and it rains and suddenly you have no more radio. Yeah. I'm not quite to that point yet, but it's had a few wettings and dryings. So, but yeah, we're looking, soon I'll be over at, Jeep Beach was Slightly Altered, as usual, and you're bringing whatever you can bring.
Oh, yeah.
The collection of things there that could happen, Scott's working on, so I won't spoil that surprise.
I'm just hoping I can talk about Operation Skunk Work here soon enough.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would make things a lot easier.
Into it will come. It will come.
Well, hey, by the time this show comes out on the 1st, which would be March, April.
It's the 20th. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So April 1st.
Oh, this April Fool's show.
Yeah.
I'm buying a Toyota. Okay, I won't do that. So,
well, you're wearing the shirt.
I feel dirty. It's funny, too, because I know that guy sees me wearing the Toyota shirt, and he just looks over, and he's like, what? You work for Toyota, and you're riding a piece of junk Jeep.
Yep.
I actually had one of the salesmen say that. He's like, man, why are you driving an old 05 Wrangler? What is wrong with you? You poor? And the one guy goes, do you realize what that Jeep is? And he's like, what? It's a stupid old Wrangler. He goes, that's an LJ.
Yeah.
So you might want to pull back your hatred there, homie.
Yeah, as far as the value on that, they have done nothing but appreciate recently. So
yeah. I know. I'm on the LJ page, and a few people are sold. And one guy said, "Yeah, I jokingly said this much, and and he got it.
Yeah,
he didn't think he would." And I'm like, oof. But see, I know that I know the cost of replacing.
There's only
it.
one. Oh yeah, there's only one rarer Jeep that can almost command any dollar price somebody asks within reason.
Well, it's either going to be the Sahara or the lime electric green LJs, because only 99 of those were built.
No, I understand that, but no, I think this was about 3,000 were produced. They were not popular when they were produced, and now they have gone over the top as far as popularity.
Tomb Raider one?
Nope.
Okay, I'm out then.
Oh, come on.
I don't know.
CJ8 Scrambler.
Oh, the Scrambler. Yeah. No.
They did not sell well for Chrysler at all. And nobody's quite sure because right now it's considered one of the hottest body styles to find, and they're all nicely pre-rusted for you.
There's one rotting away next to Autumn's work, and I want to save it so bad.
Yeah.
Hard top.
Hard top?
Rotting away.
Oh.
Guy won't sell it.
I know what I got, and I'm slowly composting it back to the
now you know what you
state.
had. Come on, man. Let someone save it. Let it go.
Yeah. But anyway, that's been fun. I've had the pleasure of working on a few, as we talked about in prior shows, that are out there now. And even Ron has a clone, which for those that don't know, if you can take either a CJ7 or a YJ body tub. There are aftermarket or junkyard rear quarter panels and floor pans that fit the that were from the CJ8, and take a CJ5 or 7 front nose, and it will bolt on, and you can actually create it. You have to stretch a frame, and have the look. So, and there are people that are doing that. Just beware, if you're out looking for a CJ8, run the VIN and make sure that the VIN actually is a CJ8.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the hardest things that's coming out right now, is a lot of people are starting to clone them. And, I got no problem with people that want to create, but at least be honest. If it's a creation, tell people it's a creation. So.
Yeah, one of the people at on the Gladiator page is commenting about how, our Gladiators are just going to be just like those CJ8s because no one likes the Gladiators. And look at this now. I'm like, dude, the Gladiator is mass produced. The CJ8 was not.
No, it was a limited production run for, I think, 2 years. And like I said, I'm not sure, but I think it was 3,000 to 5,000 was all that was produced. And in the end, they were damn near giving them away at the various dealers just to get them, because people just. I don't think at that time the sport concept was really that strong. It was like, okay, it's not big enough to put a sheet of plywood in, but it's not small enough to get through the trails. So, what's the point, kind of thing. And I'm just guessing here. I mean, yes, I was alive at that time, but was not paying attention. I do remember it looked really cool. The ads were really awesome. But, it just didn't sell well. There were some spots that did. I mean, if you were a hunter, it was great. Because you could be in your cab and have the heater on, and you could have your prey that you caught would fit in the back better than it would in any CJ5. But they are what they are.
And you weren't in a giant honcho either. So that's sweet spot.
It was, and it is recognized now. And a honcho is the next upcoming, and there are people that are chasing down honchos. The thing is again, you have to keep your eyes out, because it may not have been a honcho. It could have just been, a JP truck, and that somebody finished as a honcho, because a honcho was really mostly a trim package.
Yeah.
Not saying there weren't a few special pieces, but that's the whole point. It wasn't really a different vehicle. It was a paint job and a roll bar and some lighting and some special stitched interior, and off you go. Call it a honcho.
Yeah, it's like when people say I drive a Denali. Well, so what package? So what kind of car do you drive? Oh, a Denali. Okay, so which one? Well, it's a Denali. Okay, was the Denali is the trim package?
Yes.
You got a GMC Sierra Denali. You got the Yukon Denali.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So we have that problem in the Jeep world too. I mean,
and sometimes you even have the pastrami Denali. I just wanted to rhyme them together. It sounded cool. Great alliteration with that.
Yes. So anyway, I think we've probably run this.
Well, we got a little time for one little Operation Skunk Works. So you talked about you did some help with Mr. Mark.
Yes. Sorry, folks. Here I was about ready to shut down, and Scott is reminding me. I guess this one technically is a garage type segment, except it wasn't my garage, and it does bear some thought and more about education, and we'll hit that in a point. But a gentleman contacted a vendor friend of mine that we have done quite a bit of show work with over the time, and was looking for help with what he thought was an ECU problem. And the vendor in point, makes ECUs. So he graciously said, well, send it to me and I'll look at it. And so the gentleman did. And he says, it's this P number. And I'm sorry, I don't didn't write down the exact the fault number, but it was basically low voltage on the O2 sensor. I didn't get which O2 sensor or if it was all four of them. And the problem was when the ECU showed up, it was fine. Okay. The ECU sends out a 5-volt reference signal that can be anywhere from 4.5 to 5 volts to the O2 sensor. This is not the heater circuit. This is the actual sensor that is reading the remaining oxygen in the exhaust line. And then there is a variable resistor type of reaction element in there that's palladium, platinum mixes and things like that that react in the oxygen and then send back a varied signal, okay, based on the oxygen content that the computer uses to go, okay, I'm good. Well, it was reporting insufficient voltage. And so nobody actually asked. The guy was great. He sent a very detailed write-up of what he'd done and the tests that he had run. And of course, when the ECU got in and they put it on the bench, it was producing 4.8 volts, which is pretty much what most of them do in that realm. I think this was the JK series. And even though it's a variable, 4.8 is kind of the midline, and it produces 5 when you're on full charge running, 13.8 to 14 volts out of your alternator, and it goes down if it's lower. But you always reference off of 12 volts as power supply, just to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples between different units. And it was giving 4.8, which is what all the other ones are. They took his computer, put it in their test bed, JK. No codes, happy as can lamb. And they sent him another one, said, here, put this one in. That we built and test it. This is trust on a manufacturer that's really going out of their way. And I'm getting the same code with yours. Okay. Now that should tell you something right there. All right. The ECU, the problem doesn't follow the ECU. It's kind of like when you change spark plugs, when you're not sure if it's a spark plug causing the miss or something else. If the problem moves when you change the spark plug, it's something to do with the spark plug. If it doesn't move, it's not the spark, okay?
Yeah.
It's that kind of either or. But the guy's like adamant and came back again saying, but I'm measuring it right now, and this is what I'm reading. So the point of this is how you measure will affect what you're getting as a result. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to guess because I don't know. I mean, I only saw his write-up. And if you happen to be that person and you're on the show, please feel free, if you're listening to the show, please feel to email us back or send us a Facebook. But the best guess is that he laid down following the service manual. He had a service manual. And it said you should get this voltage on these 2 pins. So I'm guessing he measured the voltage in the connector at those 2 pins. All right. Now, that's not a bad measurement, and he got something like 4.1, which would cause that signal. All right. So what you're doing is you're validating that the computer sent you that signal correctly. Right. All right. But it does not tell you much. It tells you a little bit. It actually kind of tells you that it's not the O2 sensor. It's probably something upstream or ... downstream. If you think of this as water and you have 5 psi coming out of a faucet in a hose, and you go 50 feet down that hose and you put a pressure gauge in that line as it goes back to the drain, and it only reads 4 psi. Where's the problem? Well, the problem could be that the drain's blocked, or the problem could be somebody standing on the hose that's coming out of the faucet. Okay? So you don't really know, is the faucet not putting out 5 psi? And that's the assumption the guy made, is my ECU isn't putting out voltage.
Right.
He's automatically has assumed that the wiring, both in and out, are good. And that's a dangerous assumption to make in any electrical diagnosis.
Yeah.
And the key here is, and I was explaining it, and I realized this is a little esoteric because even the people at the computer manufacturing facility were going, huh?
What?
What I would do, this is me. I would turn the computer on. I would back probe the pin at the ECU. And you have to do this carefully not to damage anything, but you reference it to the negative battery terminal, not the connector on the terminal, not the little wrappy thing with the bolt that you tighten to squeeze it, but literally the battery. And look at what's coming out. And I expect he'll get 4.8 since the people at the computer shop had showed that.
Yeah.
And then head down to the connector. Have someone stay up there and keep that negative lead on the negative terminal of the battery. Mm-hmm. That's your only reference that you have.
Yeah.
That doesn't change. And then probe the pin that's supposed to be the other end of that wire. What voltage do I have? If you now are suddenly reading 4.8, well, that wire's good. And you're pretty well sure that your problem is in the wire back to the computer. Okay?
Right.
And you do the same thing there, except that in this case, you can't reference the voltage to the negative terminal. What you have to do is do an ohms drop and plug into the return lead that goes back up to the data input port on the ECU. And the standard is 5 ohms or less, but on sensors like that, they recommend 1 ohm or less, or even 1/10 of an ohm. And I'm going to say that there's probably a case of green snot corrosion, as we call it, where the copper is beginning to decay due to a break in the wire or a rub through. This is the one that, and I bet he's having that. Rub throughs are horrible. There's continuity on that wire. But because the insulation has become damaged and we live in a wet and moist environment in general,
yep,
that rub through point doesn't necessarily short. It doesn't even have to short. It's just water's now getting into your wires. And you start to build up copper sulfate crystals, which is the greenish, copper oxides and all these different little copper things depending on your environment. And all of those are a much higher resistance than pure copper. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to find if the wire is broken and you actually have no conductivity. But through wear-throughs, you can create resistors in line that drop voltages very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It could also be the connector head itself, where the crimp is, where the wire goes in there and is crimped. And the only way to really check that is to depin it and look at it. But an ohm check from end to input will tell you if you've got 1/10 of an ohm, okay, start looking somewhere else. But in the case of this in particular one, they looked at the computer. The computer was sending correctly and was receiving correctly. So that wasn't where the resistance was.
Right.
It's somewhere in those wires. And you can resolve that yourself with nothing more expensive than a good voltometer and maybe an extra set of hands if you can't reach on your battery and down under into your O2 sensor at the same time. Yeah. That is a little bit of a challenge. And what you can do is you can work your way down and you get yourself down to that last piece of wire. Then if you have to relume, delume a wire, and which piece you're checking. And all of a sudden that doesn't become that hard. You take a rag and dampen it with a little water, and after you open it up and wipe it if you don't see it right away. Most of them, as soon as I delume and start looking, I go, whoops.
There's your smoking gun.
Or you see the spot where that split loom has broken or is worn through. That's probably a likely spot, and I'd probably open that first.
Yeah.
And you open it up, and if you can do it gently, it's amazing. You'll open it up, and there'll be this emerald green grainy stuff sitting there in front of you, and you're like, okie dokie.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is like we did on the light wires for the reverse lights on Slightly Altered many years ago. You remember that, Scott? When I pulled the whole harness out. Mm-hmm. And not only did we find that one gone, we found the fuel pump power feed wire was on its way out from the same thing. And the fuel pump was running on reduced voltage. And so you discover, okay, it's very rare when a vibrational rub through or an impact damage only damages one wire. You're only seeing the symptom in one wire.
One wire.
But you go, let me clean all these up while I'm here.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's one of those things. Look at the circuit,
Mhm.
start to finish in distinct elements using the best reference you can. So on power supplies, power on a vehicle is almost always referenced to the negative terminal of the battery. The reason I say to the terminal and not to the clamp is a clamp can have corrosion. I pulled many a battery clamp off that had a black sludge between them, a varnish that adds resistance. So you don't want that. You want to know what the battery is seeing on return.
Yeah.
And that way you know where to go hunt for your repair. So anyway, Scott, you look like you had something on your mind about that.
No, I was just going to say, actually, I forgot now. I scrolled pretty hard. But on a unrelated note, a customer asked about installing a bunch of aftermarket radio stuff to the vehicle and got frustrated because, I'm gonna squash a lot of myth, and I'm going to really upset a lot of people right now. It doesn't matter if it's Toyota, Jeep, Ford, Dodge, whatever. Yes, years ago, every vehicle was wired for every option. And unfortunately, the manufacturers learned that, if I don't wire that vehicle for every option, I can save that money in copper and I can move that on to the next vehicle.
Yep.
So when the customer got upset that they couldn't get their premium sound system, just plug and play, they proceeded to tell me, well, I'm just going to start cutting wires and just splicing stuff in. And I said, well, you might not want to do that because, again, stuff is switched to negative. You might be thinking you're having an audio wire. Next thing you know, you turn your right turn signal and your windshield washer squirters go off.
Yep.
Don't do that, folks.
You don't do that. Even if you have no other choice, you can go to online e-manuals and pull a wiring diagram down for virtually any vehicle. It costs to do that. Sometimes it can cost a pretty penny, $150 to $200. But if you're digging in that deep, I guarantee you the cost of that manual is far less than paying a technician for several hours to figure out what
you did wrong,
and put it back to right. It's automotive wiring is one of those things that once you understand it, it's fairly straightforward. But until you do, it reminds you of a bowl of spaghetti covered in tomato sauce, and it's very slippery, and you'll never find the other end of that noodle. And it's a worthy thing to learn. I'm not an electrical engineer. I didn't get trained in this. I learned it the hard way, just like most of us do. I was fortunate enough. I'm old enough to remember when one wire would make an engine run, and two wires, a starter trigger and to the relay and the high voltage lead, was enough to crank it over to. And if that didn't work, you could stick a piece of steel in the nose of it and try and break your wrist turning it over and getting it to fire itself.
Yeah.
And I worked on old tractors, antique tractors that predated me significantly. I was able to learn step by step. It didn't hurt that my older brother, is an electrical engineer, and kind of sat me down and said, here's the basics of how a 12 or a 24 volt or even a 48 volt system works.
Right.
And there's not very many components to it until you start to get to the computer world. But even the computer world, they have to function within Ohm's law and with a few other things that you don't have to really know. You just have to know it exists. The fact that, voltage across a wire from one end to the other drops based on the resistance per foot and the number of feet of wire. And if the resistance goes too high and you think you have 12 volts, at the other end you may only have 9 or 7 or 6 or 2.
Yeah.
And we as a community, because Jeepers work our Jeeps pretty hard, are notorious for forgetting one of Chrysler's biggest faults. And you've heard me preach about it enough, and that is the grounding system. Because that little electron, and you all that are perfectionists and scientists know it actually comes out of the negative. But the idea is we treat positive as if where the current comes from.
Right.
It has to get back to the battery. And it's going to go by the easiest road it can find. And that's supposed to be the ground path, which is steel, not copper. It's the body, the frame, all the other components that are metallic. And when you get corrosion in there, it can't get there very easy. And if it can't get there very easy, the current backs up, so to speak, just doesn't flow.
Yeah.
And when you have threshold connections, that need to be done, they don't.
Yeah.
And
Pretty much.
computers are really picky that way.
Oh,
that
yeah.
they want to be perfect all the time. So this is why computers have been loads of fun. I have gone in, and Scott has seen me do it, help people. And you walk in and it's not starting. It's not cranking. It's not this. It's not that. And I'll go, okay, what's the problem? I'll go to one page of a manual and say, where's the ground for that problem? Oh, gee, that's G104, ground 104. Where is it? It's over here on the block. It's up here on the firewall. Okay, let's take a look. Wiggle, wiggle. Oh, yeah, give me a screwdriver or a wrench or something. Take it off. Oh, look at that. It's crusty, musty. Give me a one of those little toothbrush wire brushes. Get it nice and clean and tighten it back up. I said, well, see what happens. Boom. Now go around and do all the others.
Yeah, pretty much. Yay.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I will slowly scooch my soapbox back under the table.
There's a noise that goes right to the spine.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, that's just one of those things that it even can get the manufacturer of replacement computers kind of caught up because everybody assumes the wire's good.
Yeah. No.
It usually isn't.
Always assume the worst. Hope for the best, but assume the worst. Or other way around. I don't know. But
something like that.
I do want to say a quick...
It's called hope for the best and plan for the worst.
Those words. I do want to say a quick shout out to a new listener, Katie, who reached out, currently having...
Hi, Katie.
Yeah, currently having fuel pressure issues. Hopefully, maybe we don't know yet. So I gave her a couple of things to test. But thank you for listening, and we appreciate it. So as you new listeners reach out to us, we'll make sure to start giving shout outs when we can.
See, now I'm already going, okay, what year Jeep?
It's in the email. I actually did good because the vehicle was shutting down, and I said, have you checked the fuel pressure at the fuel rail? Start there first because they replaced a new fuel pump, and we're still having issues. And I said, well, let's. That
really tells me about what because the grounds for the fuel tank for the pump can be the most nasty things in the world.
Well, the vehicle would just shut off after running. And I'm like, fuel pumps either work or don't work. So I think you have another issue. But first, check to see what your pressure. If you have, the pressures, okay, then go to the next tree. So she was going to let her husband know, and then they're going to move to the next thing. So, but other than that, as you guys get those messages, let us know. But if you do have a question, comment, concern on the trail podcast at gmail.com, you can also face message us, one of those things. Instabooks or something. I don't know. Whatever you kids are using now. But other than that, Kevin, I don't think...
you say that's just bizarre as get out.
What? Instabooks?
No, calling people kids.
I know. I am speeding very fast to that big 50, and I'm having a bit of a nervous breakdown. I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Folks, I just turned 66 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So... But wishing him a happy birthday. I think it's time we lock the hub and put the Jeep in 4-low and hit the trail. What do you think, Kevin?
I think that's a wonderful idea. Everybody, thanks again for listening, and share and send us ideas.
Yes.
As we've said for the last, 7 years, this is your show, not ours.
We're just the two figureheads.
Yeah, there's not a whole corporation behind us. I've had that accusation, and that's not true. It is Scott and myself.
That's it.
And occasionally a spouse, girlfriend, or shop owner coming in throwing us ideas. So if there's a topic that you really would like to have us cover, I'd be glad to do the research. If there's some location that you think would be neat to share to go wheeling, we'll share that too. If there's an event that you really think is cool, which I forgot to do, shout out to Red Scorpion Fab Arts and Yingling Breweries in Tampa, Florida, up off of Bush Boulevard near the USF area. They blow my mind. Yingling is from Pennsylvania, where I went to college, and my wife, in that area in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And anyway, one of the Potts. And they've set up a brewery here and have had one here in Tampa for a while, but they just put a whole new Yingling Center in. and it's a fantastic little restaurant brewery thing. And they hosted a big Red Scorpion social event, and we were there a couple of weeks ago. And the hospitality was fantastic. The people that came were fantastic. We had old Jeeps, new Jeeps, built Jeeps, unbuilt Jeeps, and a few Teslas at the electric parking spots in between.
Okay. That's random, but okay.
So shout out to Ron and to the Yingling Brewery in Tampa for awesome hosting, an absolutely awesome hosting.
Very cool.
So back on to what Scott was saying about.
No worries.
Bye now.
Bye, guys.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Vent Axle Media production.